Okay.
And then you can come in and out whenever, as long as you click on the link, you'll be able to jump in and out. And then what I'll do is I'll do a share screen, because I'll show you how viewers will be able to jump in on the conversation, but their capability is strictly just viewing.
Okay.
Whereas if you are an invited guest, then you'd be able to talk and so on and so forth. Now, again, the only technical issue with that is the software picks up where the audio is coming from, and it switches videos to whoever the audio is coming from. So if there were individual speakers, we just have to make sure that all 9 other people are muted and the only one person has their mic on, and then we would just do like a hand raising process if you have a question or comment.
Okay.
Now I got to clean up my office. Shoot.
Hey.
I'm just kidding.
I'm gonna
hang up the phone. Okay.
All right.
So when I talk, my face pops up on the screen.
Yeah, like Red Booth.
And then yours just popped up when you talked.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to do a share screen. Like, and this is something that, you know, maybe I can just facilitate, like this piece. So
great.
Yeah, so this is what you're seeing right now, right? Do you see the tunnel?
Yep.
Yeah. So, and you can see my mouse okay? It's at the bottom of the screen?
Yep.
Okay, so just to give you an idea what's going on, like, is this the first time you ever used it?
I only use FaceTime, Skype, and Red Booth.
Okay. So Red Booth has similar capabilities. Down here, you'll have an idea as to how many people are actually watching.
Okay.
But this is the link. So we would send a YouTube link, this link. We just attach this link onto an email, just like any other link, and you click on it, and it brings you to a YouTube page. And the YouTube page really is a portal to the conversation. The only trouble is the person watching the YouTube page can't really communicate unless they text or whatever. So,
but it's live on the YouTube page.
Yeah, like it's going on. Well, I mean, there's a depending where you're in the country and your bandwidth and whatnot, there might be up to a 30-second delay. In some instances, up to about a minute, but usually that's not that big of a deal. I haven't had issues even with that delay. And I don't see us using the share screen because really it's just a conversation, other than putting up an agenda so we kind of know, you know, the first 15 minutes, let's talk about this topic. What's your experience at this school? What's your experience at that school? So it could be like trouble with the coaches, trouble with players. Like, what are some of the things that that have helped you at your school with players or coaches? Equipment facility issues. What's your practicum site like when it comes to equipment and supplies? Do you guys have everything you want? Do you guys have no tape at all? Like that type of thing. So we can divide. So there would be no need to share screen. On the left side, if you move, so I think I took off the share screen, right?
Yeah.
If you go over to the far left, there'll be this a whole bunch of menu icons. The second one from the top is chat. So if you click on that, there's a chat box that does open.
Yep.
And you could have been able to see that.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's just because you have a Gmail account. And
right.
For those people that don't have Gmail, we can't. There is no other way to figure out how they can communicate other than texting or email. So
that's so interesting. So essentially, they're hosting this through YouTube, so that they can't expect that everyone will have Google Hangout, right?
Yeah. No, sorry. They save it on YouTube. Well, yeah. No, I'm sorry. Like, you're right. They host it and they save it on YouTube.
Yeah, that's really, really cool.
Yeah. So that way, like, I mean, like, I like Red Booth only for the fact that you can have more than 10 people. For our committee, it's not that big of a deal because we only have 8 or 9. So we can have individual faces at the bottom of the screen there.
Yeah.
The only trouble is if we wanted to, like when we did this with SevoCat, we actually saved a recording because there were some people that couldn't make the meeting, but they wanted to hear the discussion. So we saved it, but we realized that it actually saved the actual MP4 or movie file on my drive. And at some point you get these warnings saying you're running out of space. So,
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So walk me, so here's what I'm envisioning, and tell me if I'm on the right track.
Yeah.
It sounds like you need to look at your calendar and figure out exactly maybe what the best date is for students and for faculty who are going to be helping that want to participate.
Yeah.
So creating a little bit of a work back between now and that date. For marketing purposes and promotional ideas and all that, I'm happy and excited to take that away if that works with you. I would love to get a better understanding of, like, we talk about tips and tricks and talk about dealing with coaches, dealing with, what are you missing in terms of equipment, all of that. I'd like to talk a bit about what that looks like in more detail, just so that in terms of writing the e-blast and promoting it, how I can set up expectations for students. Mm-hmm. I want to make sure that they show up and they leave getting exactly what they were hoping for. The conversation will probably go into a few different directions, which is great. That's what a webinar is for. But it would be great if they could walk away with 2 or 3 tangible things that we said we promised that they would leave with.
Okay. So we'll ask the education committee for objectives, and we'll have like 3 objectives. And from the objectives, maybe we'll put down 1 or 2 agenda or facilitating questions per objective.
Exactly.
Okay. Like and then maybe that's something that you can use in the poster or email or whatever.
Exactly. Just so that and something that's engaging and makes them think like, oh wow, that's a serious tip or trick that I wanna learn and walk away with. We want to pique their interest a little bit. So again, I've never done this before. So my thing is like, what if we put out a question or a discussion topic, and all 10 people want to talk? How, like, would you facilitate that situation, Dennis, and say like, okay, this school go first. What are you thinking? This school. I'm afraid that if we have an hour, we would get through 1 question if we ask every single school. So what does that look like?
Whoever on the education committee is in the room at that time would be facilitating that room. So I can talk to education committee members, and we can put a plan together where we say each of the schools has an opportunity to ask up to 2 questions. Yeah. And the other thing I was just looking at here, I wasn't sure if it was on the side here, because I know with some of these other apps, there's like a hand raising type of deal.
Okay.
What we could do is just go through it systematically, like just have, if I was chairing the whole thing, I would say, okay, this is the order we're going to go through. We're going to start from alphabetical. Oh, who's first? So I'm just going through the alphabet in my head to see what school.
Concordia.
A, B, C, D. Okay, so Camosun's first. So I'll say, okay, so Camosun gets first dibs, and then I'll go through, the schools in alphabetical order. You to 2 questions or comments. And if another school has a response, then I'll try to figure out a way, because I think all of us on the committee have a Gmail account. I could ask the facilitators, whether it be Jen Bell or Kirsty or whatever, just to go on this little chat thing on the side to let me know who to go to next, to either write down question or response, and then we can just flip back and forth. If we're going to mute all the other 9 videos, the other way to do it is we don't mute the other videos, and just maybe set the rules at the beginning and say, just respectfully, this is what happens if there's noise. It'll flip back and forth. So if you have a question, maybe put your hand up in front of the camera, type something in the chat so I can go to your, so that you have the mic at this moment in time.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll figure out a way to like almost like Robert's rules. With
to facilitate it.
Yeah. So I'll take the education committee.
So part of having everyone involved with all the different schools is also that we want one school to learn from another school and kind of share tips and tricks amongst one another as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Great.
Yeah, because there might be some of our, I mean, honestly, I don't know what happens at every single practicum site. And sometimes, you know, the one or two students, and like the assumption that I'm going to make is that even if we get 9 schools there at the same time, which I don't think we're going to, or whatever, 7 schools there at the same time, which I don't think is going to happen. On top of that, I doubt all 30 students are going to be there in the room. So when we're talking about this in May, we were hoping that at least 5 schools are online, at least 2 or 3 students per school. So our numbers, I mean, we're shooting for the stars with this. We kind of wanted to say
like 210 students, but
I think it's unrealistic.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So if it's a success, my hope is that the people that do attend will share it with other people in the program, so that the thing that we do in the winter or spring would be a little bit bigger, and then we just see growth from there. We could also, at the end of the one we do in October, put out a survey to see what people want to talk about for the next one.
I think it's super important we do a survey after, and I even wonder if we do a bit of like a recap, like a synopsis of all of the great ideas that came out from the webinar, so that people who did miss it or couldn't participate, we can actually break it down for them and send it out after.
Yeah, that'd be great. Survey and like some sort of
like a recap document. Sorry.
Like a post-event meeting.
Yeah. Length of time, what are you predicting? I
was thinking an hour. Okay. It is going to go by relatively quickly. We could block an hour and a half, and I mean, if it ends shorter than that, then it ends shorter than that. When we had the conversation originally, we said, like we told people that at each location, like each physical location, if people want to come and go, like walk into the room, they don't have to stay for the whole thing. Like if they have to get to practice, for example, we would invite them to just drop by, listen to the conversation. If they, you know, if there's something interesting that they want to say or want to hear, then they're welcome to stay. But it's like, I can see people attending the beginning of it, then having to leave, and vice versa. People coming late because they're coming from a class or whatever, and then staying until the end.
Okay.
So we left that really flexible. Yeah.
Okay. Good to know. I'm looking at other questions I had here. I think I have everything I need to put my head on this. So if you could go back to the EC, talk about those 3 objectives, you know, what a successful webinar looks like at the end of the day for them. And like I said, I'd love to get a sense of some of those those 4 or 5 questions that are going to lead people through this webinar, so that I can, again, get a sense of how I want to position the communication and the promotion around this. I don't want to mislead anyone around what we're going to talk about. So, and then, yeah, come back to me with some dates and a little bit of a work back of what we're working with, and we can get the ball rolling. Okay.
So I'll work on those objectives and questions, and I'll give that to you ASAP.
Right.
And then on my side, I'll try to organize a date and time.
Yeah.
Who contacts are, and I'll kind of keep them in the same conversation.
Yeah.
And And then with respect to the survey, I mean, that's kind of like a third priority because we can do that later on.
I'm happy to take the survey on.
Okay.
Also happy to tackle the, here's what happened at the workshop if you weren't able to make it. I mean, they're going to be able to watch it online too because it's recorded, but if they kind of want a one-pager breakdown, yeah, I'll take that away.
Hey, did you want me to send you examples of the SAT seminar and the speaker series we did using the software?
Yes, that would be great.
It's on YouTube.
Yeah, would love to see them.
Okay.
That'd be great.
Okay. Good. It's exciting.
Perfect. It's so exciting.
People on our committee were like, "Oh, this sounds much better than the candidate network because it was really stagnant."
I know. I heard about that.
Yeah. So they like.
Sorry. Go ahead. You first.
Well, you're in Ontario. You go first.
It'd be great because you have a connection with students to also do a little bit of a mini survey before we even do this. If you're in touch with any of them and ask what they would love to hear.
That'd be a great idea. I'll see them on Monday.
Perfect.
So maybe to like kind of shoot out the question if there's some things you want to talk to other students around the country about, what would it be? Exactly. Yeah. And maybe I'll ask I'll ask the other instructors too if there's something that they've noticed might be very helpful for the students to chat about. The only thing that they hear, which is one of the issues that was brought up at the candidate network, was people start trash talking the programs and why their program sucks and so on and so forth. So, but if we're going to be in the room, we would nip that in the bud. But I'll talk to Mark and Khadijah because they have pretty good insight as to what would benefit students and what they might be interested in at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, and I think we position this really about like student success and not at all about the program, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it has nothing to do with programming. It has everything to do with the individual as a student and making their experience better and brighter and all of that. So we'll position that properly too. Okay. Good. Yeah. Excellent. Thank you, Dennis. We'll be in touch a bunch, I'm sure, between now and October. But I feel good now about this.
Good.
Yeah. All right. So I will hear from you.
Where are you, by the way?
This is my home, and my roommate moved out and brought all his bookcases with him. Like I used to have this beautiful bookcase. Oh. And me and my other roommate decided to just hang a blank canvas, and we called the piece Emptiness.
I thought that was where the safe is.
I wish. My safe full of millions of dollars. No, there's nothing behind there.
Okay.
Yeah. It's actually been a really great conversation starter. People are like, "What is that?" And I'm like, "Well, let me tell you."
Well, we kind of have the same thing in our house, but it's an actual panel that when you remove it, there's the water shut off and like the electrical and all that stuff. So
smart.
Kind of secret compartment, I guess, if you will.
The goal is that one night we'll feel super artsy and we'll just do like a roommate paint session and just fill it with color, but it hasn't happened yet.
Or maybe stand 5 feet away and take paintbrushes and go, wah, wah.
That's what I want to do. Or like squirt mustard and ketchup or something, Well, I'll let you know what happens.
You're gonna be like, why does that painting smell?
I know. That's a bad idea. No, I already regret it.
It's got texture, but it's also got smell. Oh, 5 dimensions. You can lick it.
Ew, that is a bad idea.
Go.
So artsy, though.
On many levels, that's a bad idea.
Exactly.
Okay, well, that's the speaker series. I thought we were going to talk about the SAT seminar, but we're kind of on the fence with which direction that's going to go. Like, I can just do the same thing we've been doing before because I think it's going to fizzle soon anyways. And I kind of don't want to put too much energy into that.
Dennis, when you say speaker series, is that what we're calling these webinars, speaker series, or is it totally different?
No, the reason why I use speaker series was because that's what we called our event. So this doesn't have to be speaker series. I really don't know what term to use, to be honest.
Okay, I'll think about that.
Okay.
You can come up with a fun, catchy name.
Yeah, like, I mean, it's a discussion. It's a virtual roundtable, if you will. Like, there's a facilitating question. We get people to comment and respond. I mean, I'm not expecting people to prepare a presentation. That's the last thing we want.
Yeah.
It's a matter of, okay, you folks at Concordia, what type of placements do you have, and what struggles as a student do you have with your placement? Oh, it takes me 3 hours to get there. It costs gas, but I carpool with one of the coaches, so that's my solution. Like that's what some of the conversations I hear would expect.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
But yeah, no presentations. The only thing formal would probably be, okay, Kamosin, do you have anything to say? Okay, we've reached the 20-minute mark. This was great discussion. Let's move on to the next topic. Supplies and equipment, for example.
Yeah. So really the only slide we need to prepare is an agenda.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only thing I would even put up. And I mean, yeah, I can easily just do a share screen for the first 5 minutes. When there's time for a break, I share screen again, put up the agenda again, and be like, okay, we've tackled number 1, let's look at number 2, and then take it off, and then we converse again.
Perfect. Yeah, that sounds good. Okay. Thanks, Dennis.
Oh, no worries. Like, was that the only thing you wanted to chat about?
That's all I'm aware of, to be totally honest. Unless, yeah, I've only heard about the December webinar. But if there's other projects you want to talk about, I'm all hands on deck.
There's the things we talked about at our meeting. That's web based. But I think it's more content related though. So the sport medicine model, I think that's more content. It's just a matter of putting that stuff on the website. And then the only intricate thing would be the best practices. Yeah, best practices web page. But I thought that was more in the old organization where Trevor and Svetlana took that stuff. Sorry, this is very unclear. The idea was we would have a web page where it lists best practice guidelines. So the education committee would come together, maybe write a white paper on spine boarding, and then we would say, okay, spine boarding, and then these are the protocols in all the provinces. Just be aware of them. This is what from a competency learning standpoint, this is the expectation CBOCAT and Education Committee recommend. So as a candidate studying for the exam from one province, they can go and see what the variations are, knowing that all those variations are correct. But it also helps exam developers and examiners realize that there's many ways to do different things. So that was the one purpose of organizing the practice guidelines webpage. Under that practice guidelines webpage, the big umbrella is research and education. Yeah. Under education, there would be best practice guidelines, and then education committee recommendation, CBOCAT recommendation. Under the research tab, if you will, what I envisioned was a list of all the publications from our membership. So literally like a bibliography or reference list.
Yep.
With links to Health Knowledge Network. So we can get more usage out of that. So if you're looking for this particular article written by this AT, it'll connect you to Health Knowledge Network, and here's how you find it. Now, to get the publications on that page, I was going to talk to Trevor and Svetlana about in people's profiles when they update their CEUs or renew their membership, there would be a place where they can write down any publications or research that they're doing, and that automatically populates the research page.
Okay.
And that's pretty much the extent of it.
So right now on the website, we have a section called, let me see. CATA Education and Research Foundation. So it's under
Yep. Okay.
So is this where you're envisioning expanding and splitting up research and education?
Yes, and yeah.
And is it on the public side of the website?
It's a good question. Now, personally, I would like to see it on the public side, because then it shows the public what our membership is producing from a research standpoint, which I think is a good thing.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
But if they click on the link to access the article, it takes them to HKN, which then they would have to log in.
Right.
And then with the, sorry?
That's fine.
Okay. And then with the best practice guidelines, so if there was another tab that had best practice guidelines, it'd be like an education tab, if you will.
Dennis, give me 1 second. I need to go open my door.
Sure.
Sorry, Dennis.
Oh, no worries, no worries.
You were saying?
Was that a pizza delivery?
I wish. Nope, no pizza here.
I can see, so there's the research piece, which I've always been confused because, like, and this might be a board of directors question, when they say CATA Education and Research Foundation, is that like education committee, or like, I'm not sure what that piece is. So I've been trying to contact or chat with Richard, but he's on sabbatical now. But when I was looking at their bylaws, there was some overlap between what they do and what we do. And the whole idea of the best practices website is found, like the idea of putting that together is actually found on so I'm pointing over here because that's my other computer. I'm pointing over, yeah, there's some overlaps in what they do in the bylaws with what we've been doing. So with the best practices stuff, the whole idea of putting that together is actually found in some of the bylaws for the Research Foundation. And I kind of don't want to do one thing if someone else is doing it. So like either we hash out with the bylaws that, sorry, with the CATA Education Research Foundation, that's the Research Foundation with the work of the Education Committee, maybe be a little more clear about that, so that we can do the best practice guidelines or put that piece together. Whereas the Research Foundation, they could be in charge of like the research page with all the publications, advertising for funding or grant opportunities, going through, so the Research Foundation would be in charge of who wins this research, this research competition. When it comes to selecting posters and so on for the conference, all the abstracts go through the Research Foundation, because we've done awards, but we haven't done, like we've done awards, well, one award, and we've done conference planning, so the speakers and so on and so forth, but that isn't necessarily research per se.
Okay.
That's just programming. But when it comes to like what research posters are presented or accepted at the conference, I think that's what Research Foundation has been doing. So like that's where the separation is.
Yeah, that's what I'm understanding. It sounds like so research, the foundation is the umbrella, but it sounds like best practices is separate from the research.
Yeah.
We visually need to show that differentiation.
Mm-hmm.
Having said that, it also sounds like we all need to have a meeting to talk about avoiding overlap and kind of assigning tasks and talking about how we want to move forward. Mm-hmm. Does that sound right?
I would love that, because I've been trying to do that with Richard for a while, and but you know, people are busy and stuff. So
Richard is a go-to person for the Research Foundation. You would be the go-to person for best practices guide, right?
Yeah, I mean, that was my understanding. I'm not sure if someone took over the Research Education Foundation. Actually, I think it was Richard and Jackie Vandertooyen, because Jackie, I think, was asking Education Committee for help about the posters at one point. Jackie Vandertooyen might be part of that as well, part of the Research Foundation, but I'm not sure.
So what has the holdup been, Dennis? Just that everyone's been too busy to tackle it, or are there differing opinions? Like, what's the holdup?
Oh, like I think it's just people been busy to chat about it.
Okay.
And it hasn't been pressing because it hasn't caused any problems. When I get the email that says, "Can the Education Committee help reviewing these abstracts?" I assume it's because there's only 2 people on the Education Foundation, on the Research Foundation, and they need more eyes looking at more posters. But outside of that, they've done the research grant applications. So anything has to do with like funding, money, and abstract reviews for the conference. That's what they've been doing. And then we've been doing best practices where we look at some of the literature, we look at what different provinces do, and so on and so forth. And so that's pretty clear on what we've been doing. It's just not articulated in the bylaws that way. So a couple years ago, I was like, can we take, I don't know what it takes to change the bylaws, but can we just make it clear? Like, I mean, we're doing what we're doing, but it's just not reflected in the content of the website and the bylaws.
Okay. So from my end, in terms of updating content and having the site reflect what we properly need it to reflect, that's super easy. I think as long as I have the right information and I can help draft up some copy, we can definitely do that. Mm-hmm. I guess my question is, how far are we from having this like content and page drafted out for the Research Foundation so that I can take it and post it? And then how far are we in the same breadth to get all the best practices guide drafted so that I can post it to the site?
Well, the best practices stuff, that's an ongoing process. We have a Google document already that has several questions. I think out of the 7 or 8 topics that I've proposed, there's probably about 3 or 4 that are more pressing, and those 3 or 4 have the most content attached to them already from the different provinces. Our goal as the Education Committee now is for us to contact the regional bodies to get information from them. So they would send us like links or articles, whatever, that's based on a particular topic, and then we would just post it.
Okay.
What we would do is we would read all the different variations of, let's say, spine boarding across the country, and then we would make a blanket recommendation with CBOCAD as well in the conversation to let people know what the minimum requirement is for the national exam.
Okay.
Because that information will help instructors, candidates, SATs, examiners.
Okay. I'm totally there to help make this, to help make it happen. I'm getting on a call with Sandy in 2 minutes, so I'm going to have to jump off. But what are some tangible next steps we can take for this?
I need to talk to someone.
Okay.
Whether it be somebody on the board, somebody, whether it be Richard or Jackie. And again, I'm not sure who exactly is on the foundation right now. But I would chat with them to see what goals and objectives education committee is actually doing. And I don't know if the result would be, okay, just keep it there, but in the education committee's policies and procedures, maybe make a note of it that in collaboration with Research and Education Foundation, we are both doing this, or something along those lines. So from your standpoint, maybe nothing for now, just enjoy your pizza.
Great.
And then I'll chat. So if you can find out who this Education Research Foundation group is, I'll try to talk to them and see what kind of, see what we need to do to move forward to make things a little more clear. Once we do that, then we can get into the conversation of, okay, so what content are we going to populate the website with? And then I can give you that Google Doc, and then a framework for how the publications should look, and we can have that conversation later.
That's
so
perfect.
I'll talk to them first, and then I'll let you know what happens.
And on my call with Sandy that I'm going to get on, she might have the answer in terms of who's on the foundation right now and who's leading.
Perfect.
So I might be able to get that answer for you within the next 5 minutes.
You're a superhero. In disguise.
All of that sounds good, and we'll make it happen. Yeah, all of this is doable. It's just talking to the right people and getting the ball rolling.
Okay. And again, I'm not too sure from our education committee meeting what else we talked about right off the top of my head. But if there's other things that require your expertise, then I'll send you another note.
Please do. I'm fully available to help you guys in any way. So let me know.
Yeah. Besides doing this and working on your painting behind you.
I know it's really keeping me busy. Okay. But I'm not doing kata. I'm an artist. Don't tell people that, okay?
I won't. Your secret is safe with me.
All right, Dennis. Thank you.
You're welcome. And tell Sandy I said hi.
Will do.
Good chatting with you, and I'll talk soon.
Perfect. Bye.
Bye.